Now we're going to hear from this gentleman here. I think he's got one of the coolest shirts I've ever seen. I'd wear it all the time if I had it. I wish I knew where to get one. I mean, it might be the most bitchin' shirt I've ever seen in my life. But, yeah, some people got pissed off at the gym there. And he's in Alabama, so when you hear him talk and you see what the shirt is, it shouldn't be any surprise. I mean, in Alabama, of all places, I could see why they'd be offended by it. The truth hurts sometimes, and, well, I'll talk a little bit more about it on the other side. Let's hear what happened to him, though.
Okay, so I'm leaving the gym, and I'm walking out the gym, and the manager, he says, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second? Are you about to leave?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "A couple members are saying that you're making them very uncomfortable." So he walks me to his office. I'm like, "What did I do, sir? Like, I wasn't slamming my weights. I racked my weights. Is it me? Like, is it my height? Like, what is? I'm not that tall, but what am I doing to make? I don't understand." Hold on, let me put my phone down. I don't understand why or what I did to make anyone uncomfortable, And hold on one second, I gotta. Okay, so I said, "Sir, like, what did I do? How did I make someone uncomfortable?" And he was like, "Sir, your shirt." And I was like, "Well, what's wrong with my shirt? This is very positive. It promotes togetherness and unity."
So yeah, like he said, the shirt promotes unity. It's actually an anti-hate shirt. It's the biggest anti-hate, pro-unity shirt I've ever seen, because it's talking about stomping out hate. But in Alabama, you got to understand, in Alabama, there's still a couple Confederate holidays on the books down there that some people celebrate. Not a lot, I'm sure, that would admit to it. But they love having it there, or they'd get rid of it. I mean, this is a state, they idolize people like Roy Tola Moore. They would keep electing him over and over if they can. Or if they could, again, you know what I mean? He's the child molesting judge that was in the Senate. They also love George Wallace. There's another beacon of humanity, George Wallace. They love him. They love that treason rag. They love that Confederate flag down there. When I say they, I'm talking about white people in Alabama. There are some good white people. There's some progressive white people in Alabama. Not nearly enough, though. Doug Jones was a good dude. He was from down there, but they decided they loved Roy Tola Moore instead. In fact, they're planning on opening up a few junior highs and high schools in his name. And now the majority of white people down there, they definitely think this. I mean, they really feel like their racism is patriotism, when it's really patriotism to the old Confederacy, which was a treason. That whole existence of the Confederacy was based on treason and slavery. The overwhelming majority of white people down there, they idolize this guy so much that they could give a shit less about this. They don't care about any health care for kids or anything like that. It all goes to Trump. In fact, more of a concern to them than anything Trump could ever do that was ominous or providing health care to kids. They're more concerned about a laptop with no photos on it. Owned by this guy here because some guy at a pawn shop on 38th and Vine named Bruno said that there was something on there. They don't know what, but there was something. They're going to get to the bottom of it. They'll be looking forever more for it. They're absolutely convinced of this right here. They're totally convinced. And they agree 100%. In fact, they think he's number one right away. Absolutely. And what they don't really care about is what the great, honest Senator Raskin has to say here, who is a good man.
What do you make of this union worker who called out Trump yesterday as a pedophile protector?
I think that he was speaking in a factual sense.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you, Kirsch. I appreciate it.
Now, that doesn't matter to them. Trump could do no wrong, so they're okay with that. But they do think this. They think it wasn't George Wallace. It wasn't Roy Tola Moore. It wasn't the Ku Klux Klan. They think that the Obamas are the ones that set the country back 200 years. The majority of white people down there totally believe this here. They think it was all the Obamas. Totally. They don't think George Wallace had a racist bone in his body. They don't think the Confederacy was racist. They still celebrate a couple of Confederate holidays. They're on the books down there. But yeah, they think this was the culprit of all the racism ever in their history. They're looking forward to worshiping this guy here too, kind of on a semi-basis. They're looking forward to hanging on every word he says as their leader. In fact, they're hoping that he'll move down to Alabama once he's done with his political career and maybe anoint himself the, honorary king. At least that's what they're hoping for anyway. They just love this guy to a T. They believe everything he's ever told them. They're also deathly frightened of this lady. They're scared of her color. They're scared of her brains. They're scared that she's a woman. They're scared that they might empower the daughters of their state to actually leave the house.